You are less intelligent than a person who lived 10,000 years ago. Not slightly less. Measurably, provably, structurally less capable. And the worst part is that the thing that made you dumber is the same thing every human alive considers the greatest achievement in history. Let's start with what intelligence actually is. Not IQ scores. Not trivia. Not how fast you can solve an equation someone else invented. Real intelligence, the kind that kept humans alive for 300,000 years, is the ability to read an environment with no instructions, no maps, no teachers, and make decisions that keep you alive. Your ancestor had that. You don't. And it's not your fault. But it's still true. In 2012, Stanford geneticist Gerald Crabtree published a paper that almost nobody talks about. His conclusion was simple and uncomfortable. Human intelligence peaked somewhere between 2,000 and 6,000 years ago. Since then, we've been in steady decline. Not because we stopped trying, because we stopped needing to. Here's what he meant. For 99% of human history, being stupid got you killed. You misread an animal's tracks, dead. You misjudged a storm, dead. You trusted the wrong person, dead. Every single day was a cognitive test with lethal consequences for failure. That pressure is what built the human brain. Evolution doesn't give you things for free. It gives you things you need to survive. And for 300,000 years, raw intelligence was the single most critical survival tool our species had. Then agriculture happened, and everything changed. When humans settled down and started farming, the selection pressure on individual intelligence collapsed overnight. Suddenly, you didn't need to read 40 different animal behaviors to find food. You needed to plant seeds in the same field you planted them last year. You didn't need to navigate thousands of miles of terrain from memory. You needed to remember where your house was. The cognitive demands of daily life dropped off a cliff. And evolution, being completely indifferent to your feelings, started quietly walking back the investment. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. Because the decline didn't stop with agriculture. It accelerated. Every time humans invented a tool that outsourced a mental function, the brain's need to maintain that function reduced. Writing outsourced memory. Maps outsourced spatial navigation. Calendars outsourced time tracking. Calculators outsourced arithmetic. GPS outsourced direction. Your phone outsourced everything else. There's a neuroscientist at University College London named Eleanor Maguire. She spent years studying London taxi drivers, people who memorize every street in one of the most complex cities on Earth. She found something remarkable. Their hippocampus, the region responsible for spatial memory, was physically larger than average. The brain had grown more capacity for the function it was being forced to use. Now think about what happens to a brain that outsources navigation to Google Maps for 10 years. The function atrophies. Not as a metaphor. Physically, the neural pathways that aren't used stop being maintained. Your brain is not a storage unit. It's a living system that constantly reallocates resources based on demand. And modern life makes almost no demands. Your ancient ancestor had a working memory that tracked dozens of individuals in their social group, their relationships, their debts, their history, with no written records. They maintained a mental map of hundreds of square miles of terrain. They could identify thousands of plants, predict animal behavior, read weather patterns, navigate by stars. All of it held in biological memory with no external backup. You forget why you walked into a room. And before you say technology makes us more capable, that's exactly the point. Technology makes the collective more capable. It makes you personally less capable. There's a difference between a civilization that can build a rocket and an individual who understands how a rocket works. We've built the most sophisticated external intelligence system in history while quietly hollowing out the internal one. Crabtree estimated that if an ancient Athenian from 1000 BC were dropped into modern life, they would be among the most intellectually capable people alive. The raw processing power, the memory, the pattern recognition, built under conditions that would break most modern humans in a week. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. We have no idea how much we've lost because we've never had to use it. The baseline is gone. We're measuring human intelligence using tests we designed, in conditions we control, against standards we set. It's like asking someone who's never left a small room to describe how big the world is. The philosophers who built Western civilization, Socrates, Aristotle, Marcus Aurelius, wrote everything from memory, debated without notes, held entire philosophical systems in their heads with no external reference. We read their ideas on devices we can't explain, in buildings we didn't design, eating food we didn't grow. They built civilization with their minds. We inherited it and called ourselves smart for figuring out how to use the interface. So here's the actual question this raises. If the thing that made us dumber is comfort, the removal of cognitive pressure, then the only way to reverse it is discomfort. Deliberate, chosen, sustained cognitive pressure. The people doing this already know it. They read without distraction. They memorize things that don't need to be memorized. They navigate without GPS. They do hard math by hand. Not because it's efficient. Because efficiency is exactly what's making you dumber. Your ancestor didn't have the option of outsourcing their mind. You do. And every time you take it, you become slightly less than what you were built to be. The question isn't whether you're dumber than your ancestor. You are. The question is whether you're going to do anything about it. Or just Google the answer.